In Konoha the opening game plays as Jikuni Yuanichi Chapter 726-750. Chapter 726. The group continued to travel one after another, and the sky gradually darkened. Chi-Chi was a little worried. We have been walking for so long, why don't we see a place to rest? At this time, Sun Wukong picked up the little bug. I said, haven't you lived here for a long time? Do you know where there is a place to sleep nearby? The little bug was held in the palm of Sun Wukong's hand, and he was afraid that he would be crushed to death by Sun Wukong. How would I know where to sleep? I usually stay in the insect nest. Besides, with my short legs, do you expect me to run so far? The little bug struggled, and Sun Wukong threw him directly to the ground. He made him eat several mouthfuls of mud, and the little bug glared at Sun Wukong angrily. There was no way, who made their bodies so different? Okay, stop arguing. Saimyu Kusuo interrupted their conversation and pointed to a huge monster not far ahead. Look, isn't this where we live? Everyone looked in the direction that Seiki Kusuo pointed, and saw a super large cave. They were shocked by the size of the cave, especially Sun Wukong who couldn't wait to run up. It was already dark, and Seiki Kusuo knew that there was no other way. He could only live in this cave. He followed Sun Wukong inside and observed for a while. It seemed that there were signs of some races living here. Be careful, do you smell a special smell? Seiki Kusuo said, and the others took a deep breath. Sure enough, they seemed to smell something in the air. It really is, little bug, smell it quickly. You have the most sensitive nose, do you know what race it is? Little bug, don't say anything, listen to what Chi-Chi said and sniff hard. But he couldn't tell the smell. Sorry, I don't know what race it is. No matter, we can only rest here anyway. At worst, we can apologize after they come back. Sun Wukong didn't want to leave and continue looking for a place to rest. He finally found such a good place. He didn't want to leave here no matter what, so he lay on a relatively flat stone. Chimyu Kusuo knew that it was dark outside, and it was impossible to go out and find another place now. So this cave can only sleep with unknown races for one night, but he is still cautious. After checking the entire cave, he finally found some animal hair. Chimyu Kusuo picked up a few hairs and found that they were all grayish-white. This color of hair is quite like a wolf pack, and there are quite a lot of hairs. According to current speculation, they may have entered a wolf den. I'll tell you one thing, come and see the hair here. As soon as Chimyu Kusuo opened his mouth, Chi-Chi, Sun Wukong and Xiao Chongzi came to his side. What's wrong, did you find anything? Well, if I'm not mistaken, we should be in the wolf den now. This thing should be where the wolf pack lives, and our luck is too good. Chimyu Kusuo threw away the hair, and Chi-Chi was stunned when she heard it. It's a wolf pack, what should we do? Chapter 727. This cave is so big, there should be more than one layer, and the reason why the wolf hair falls here should be due to friction when going in and out. So the deep part of the cave should be where the wolf pack is stationed. We can sleep with these wolves tonight, but everyone should be careful and don't wake them up, otherwise it will bring us a lot of trouble. Saimyu Kusuo said, especially Sun Wukong. He was afraid that Sun Wukong's temperament was too careless. If there was any noise tonight, it would be bad to wake up the wolves. After hearing what Saimyu Kusuo said, everyone focused their attention on Sun Wukong tilde. Did you hear that, Sun Wukong? Be honest when you sleep tonight. If you provoke those wolves, I will skin you alive. Chi-Chi put her hands on her waist and stared at Sun Wukong. This guy really made her worry. Sun Wukong jumped in front of Chi-Chi. He pressed his body against Chi-Chi. Don't worry, no one said anything, but I will abide by your words to the end. Although he was not afraid of the wolves, it was not good to cause trouble to the wolves because of his own reasons. Mainly, he was still worried about waking Chi-Chi up. Chimyu Kusuo observed the structure of the entire cave and found that there was a stone door just blocking the distance between them and the wolves. If the wolves wanted to attack them, they would have to cross the stone door, so their safety was also guaranteed. Little bug, if you can't sleep tonight, then trouble you to keep watch. Sun Wukong looked at the little bug and touched his head with pity. The little bug didn't see Sun Wukong's abnormal side, and his whole body couldn't help but curl up. Sun Wukong, don't be like this, be normal. Besides, if I don't sleep at night, what should I do? Xiao Chongzi knew that Sun Wukong had such good intentions, and his purpose was to help them protect their safety without sleeping. Anyway, there are wolves behind this stone gate. It's best not to make any noise tonight. After all, wolves have very sharp ears. Qimyu Kusuo repeatedly reminded them, because he was afraid that Sun Wukong or Xiao Chongzi would delay things. 0 Please give flowers. Don't worry, I haven't had the habit of snoring for so long, and then looked at Chi-Chi with ambiguous eyes. Xiao Chongzi didn't want to see them show affection, so he turned his head away. Really, there is a saying. Show affection, die quickly. 0. In the evening, several people were drowsy. Only Seiki Kusuo was tossing and turning on the stone bed. He got up and carefully looked at the starry sky outside the cave. However, no star appeared. This made him a little confused. The starry sky on this planet had never disappeared. This suddenly reminded him that it seemed that he had never encountered rain since he came here. I hope it won't rain tonight, and it's better not to thunder, so as not to wake up the wolves. Seiki Kusuo prayed silently in his heart, and then went back to the cave and lay down. Sun Wukong and Xiao Chongzi had almost the same sleeping posture, sleeping with their 4 legs up in the air. Although they didn't snore. But the breathing sound was still quite loud. Work. Chapter 728. In the middle of the night, the air around began to become a little humid. Seiki Kusuo felt a cool breeze and opened his eyes in a trance. But before he could react, a thunder sounded in the sky. Crack. Snap. The thunder completely woke up Seiki Kusuo from his coma. Not only him, but also Sun Wukong, Chi-Chi, and the sleeping bug, all woke up with the thunder. What happened? The bug was startled and jumped up. It's thundering. I wonder what happened to the wolves. Chi-Chi said, but as soon as he finished speaking, he heard the sound of wolves howling in the stone gate. Seiki Kusuo's face changed and he stood up immediately. The wolves woke up. I'm worried that they will run here. Let's hide quickly. Sun Wukong looked at the sky with some resentment. Why did it happen at this time when he was sleeping soundly? It was really unpleasant to be suddenly woken up by someone. This is the wolves. I thought we could have a good rest after walking for such a long time, but I didn't expect that even God would not let us have an easy time. Sun Wukong was depressed, but he still followed Seiki Kusuo to find a place to hide. The wolf howls became more and more loud and harsh. These sounds scared the little bugs who had not seen so much. What kind of animal is this? It's so scary. The little bug couldn't help but put his hands and feet together and curled up. Seeing him like this, Chi-Chi couldn't help but want to tease him. I tell you, they are very ferocious wolves, specializing in eating little bugs like you. After Chi-Chi finished speaking, the little bug was really scared and screamed. Don't eat me, I'm not delicious, I stink. After hearing what the little bug said, Chi-Chi burst out laughing. Don't be nervous, I'm teasing you. Although these wolves are carnivores, they are not interested in dirty little bugs like you. After hearing what Chi-Chi said, the little bug didn't feel angry, and was a little relieved that the wolves were not interested in the little bug. But I think it seems that there is only thunder in the sky. I wonder if it will rain later. 0. Qimyu Kusuo observed the sky above and said that if it rained, the wolves might not continue to sleep. They couldn't go out and get soaked, but hiding like this all the time was not a solution. Qimyu Kusuo's words made everyone think. If the wolves insist on fighting with us, whoever wins will own the cave. Anyway, we are just staying for one night, and these wolves should not be stingy. Sun Wukong said naively. Although what he said made some sense, it was not appropriate to always fight and kill. You are so active in fighting. If all these wolves really run out, you will stop them all in a while. Stop them if you want. Don't worry. With your grandpa's son here, how can those wolves dare to come over? Sun Wukong was quite confident in his own strength. Besides, no one could defeat the golden hoop in his hand. Chi-Chi simply didn't want to see Sun Wukong bragging like this anymore. Don't be so arrogant. There may be more dangers as we go on. We still need to maintain our strength. Chapter 729. But in fact, the situation they thought might be even worse, because the thunder was still ringing, and the wolves might not be able to hear this sound and became a little angry. Some wolves have even merged into Seiki Kusuo's side. Fortunately, he quickly used a blade of grass to cover himself. Seeing this, Xiao Chongzi, Sun Wukong and Chi-Chi immediately ran behind Seiki Kusuo and hid. In order to look more realistic, Seiki Kusuo also used the invisibility technique to turn himself into a transparent man. But Sun Wukong thought that it was too funny for Seiki Kusuo to cover himself with a blade of grass. The wolves have begun to move around in their original resting place. It was the first time that Xiao Chongzi saw such a huge animal. Looking at their bloody fork, thinking of what Chi-Chi just said, fortunately this animal doesn't like to eat insects, otherwise the reorganization will perish. It's terrible, these guys, and they seem to be very cruel. The little bug shivered and curled up on the side. Chi-Chi was very kind and put the little bug on her shoulder. But Sun Wukong couldn't stand it anymore, so he picked up the little bug and put it on his shoulder. Chi-Chi was his and no one could touch her. Chi-Chi rolled her eyes at Sun Wukong. She didn't expect him to be so stingy that he would even be jealous of a little bug. The wolves gradually became a little agitated and kept howling at the entrance of the cave. There are so many wolves. If the thunder continues to hit tonight, we won't have to keep insisting like this, right? Chi-Chi suddenly frowned and said. It seems that this is the only way now. I hope this blade of grass can last a little longer. But Sun Wukong still didn't understand why Seiki Kusuo did this. You get a blade of grass to cover it up. Are the wolves blind? What do you know? I must have my reasons for blocking it up. This way they can't see it and we will be much safer. Now this blade of grass is like a background in the whole cave, so the wolves did not find Duan Mushishong and his group. He should be thankful that the intelligence of the wolves is not much developed, so there is no difference from ordinary animals. Actually, looking at those stupid wolves, I think you are much smarter than them, little bug. Chi-Mu Kusuo's sudden compliment made the little bug blush. Really? Do you think I'm smart? Sun Wukong was speechless when he heard what the little bug said. You think too much. What he meant is that you are smart compared to those unintelligent wolves, but compared to intelligent animals, you are a scumbag. The little bug was not happy for a few minutes before Sun Wukong's words brought him back to his original form. He immediately looked at Seiki Kusuo with a wrinkled face. However, Seiki Kusuo did not have the mind to pay attention to the little bug now. He kept watching the actions of the wolves, fearing that they would find the tea leaves and attack. Firstly, he did not want to kill them at will. After all, these wolves had stationed in this cave before them. Secondly, the number of wolves was large, and it would take a long time for them to resist. Not to mention that his physical strength would be consumed by more than half. After thinking for a long time, Seiki Kusuo decided to not move unless the enemy moves. However, the wind outside the cave was whistling, and the blade of grass in his hand also showed signs of being blown by the wind. Chapter 730. Seeing Sun Wukong looking so silly, Seiki Kusuo hit him with a chestnut. This kid is usually very smart, but why is he like a fool at the critical moment today, and he can't even turn around such a simple method? The current situation is not favorable to us. If we expose our tracks and are found by the wolves, I'm afraid both of us will be seriously injured. As long as we cover ourselves up, we won't be found by the wolves, and we will be safe. Seiki Kusuo patiently explained clearly. Sun Wukong nodded, and then he reacted. Just now he was a little surprised. Why did Seiki Kusuo do this? I don't know when the wolves will leave. Wolves have sensitive noses. If they smell our scent, I'm afraid. Before Sun Wukong finished the second half of his sentence, Seiki Kusuo directly covered his mouth. This kid is really full of curses. It's such a time, and he actually said some bad words. The two of them must spend the night here safely, otherwise they will be torn to pieces by the wolves. You better be honest. We have walked a long distance. Even if we are in danger, I'm afraid the Zerg will not be able to come to support us in time. Tonight, it all depends on our ability to protect ourselves. Chi-Mu Kusuo explained a few words. Seeing Sun Wukong so impetuous, Chi-Mu Kusuo seemed a little worried. The wolves were swaying back and forth not far away, and Chimu Kusuo felt a little scared. The previous battle with the leopard almost cost him his life. Fortunately, the queen brought people here in time. Now, they have walked a long distance, and they can't get in touch with the insects in a short time, and they can't think of relying on external forces to protect themselves tonight. Sun Wukong nodded and agreed. The two picked up a lot of leaves and filled the surroundings. Little insect, your body is small, you should pay attention to yourself later. It's up to you whether you want to hide in here or not. After packing up his hiding place, Seiki Kusuo did not forget to explain. Although he did not like this little bug all the way here. However, considering that this little bug had a connection with him, Seiki Kusuo could not be too indifferent. After all, the three of them were companions on the same road, and they had to get through this difficult time together. The little bug nodded and agreed. It was late at night, and the bright moonlight shone on the ground. Everything in front was clearly visible. Sun Wukong and Seiki Kusuo squatted in the leaves together. Just when the two thought they could spend the night safely, a violent storm suddenly blew. Seiki Kusuo was so scared that he hurriedly grabbed the leaves in front of him with his hands, and Sun Wukong also quickly took out the golden hoop to help. Hurry up and control the leaves. If the leaves run away, the two of us will be exposed. Chimu Kusuo seemed a little flustered, and Sun Wukong also hurried to help. The wind was getting stronger and stronger, and the two were almost unable to resist it. Chimu Kusuo stepped on Sun Wukong's foot very well, and Sun Wukong grimaced in pain. But they didn't dare to make a loud noise. The two hooked each other's ankles and tried to stand as steady as possible. The wolves were circling back and forth in front, and the Wolf King kept howling. The wind was getting stronger and stronger. It was not a solution to keep going like this. Chimu Kusuo and Sun Wukong were sweating profusely at this moment. Seeing the leaves in front of him were about to be blown away, so Seiki Kusuo simply stuck some dead branches and leaves into the stone. Chapter 731. The insect's body was too small, and the wind was very strong, so the insect was blown all over the place. It tried its best to grab Seiki Kusuo's collar, but who knew that its hand slipped and it was blown away directly. The little insect screamed, but fortunately its body was relatively small and the noise it made was relatively small, so the wolf pack did not notice the little insect. It's over. The wind is so strong tonight that the two of us can't resist it. We don't know if this little insect will be blown away or something. Sun Wukong stepped on the branches and leaves tightly and looked ahead. Although he and Seiki Kusuo didn't like the little bug all the way here. But if you think about it carefully, the reason why the little bug can follow them is all because of his nod. Seeing that the little bug has disappeared, Sun Wukong is also very worried. He is really afraid that his momentary thoughts will harm the little bug. Don't worry about other things first, protect your own safety first. The little bug is small in size, and even if it goes to other places, it will not be discovered by prey. Seimu Kusuo increased the strength of his feet, and Sun Wukong immediately came back to his senses. The two leaned tightly on the branches and leaves, trying to stabilize them as much as possible. The wolves have been wandering around here, trying to find the hiding place of Seimu Kusuo and Sun Wukong. My king, where do you think these two can hide? Just now, these two guys were still hanging around outside, how come they disappeared in the blink of an eye, as if they evaporated? The male wolf asked in confusion. They followed them all the way, but who knew that Seimu Kusuo and Sun Wukong disappeared halfway? After wandering around here for a long time, they still couldn't see any trace of the two. Many wolves also seemed a little anxious. In the eyes of these wolves, these two people were excellent delicacies. It would be a pity to miss them. Don't be anxious. They can't go far. I feel they are nearby. The Wolf King said a few words to comfort them. In the air, he could smell the scent of Seiki Kusuo and Sun Wukong. Although he couldn't be sure where the two were, the King of the South dared to guarantee that they didn't go far. Seeing the Wolf King leading the wolf pack to wander back and forth in front, Seiki Kusuo also seemed more and more nervous. Beads of sweat flowed down his forehead, and Seiki Kusuo felt very uncomfortable. When will the wolves leave? I feel like I'm almost out of strength. Damn it, why is there such a strong wind tonight? It's really God who doesn't take care of us. Sun Wukong muttered a few words with some dissatisfaction. Tonight was originally very unfavorable for them. Wolves are usually nocturnal animals. At midnight, their eyesight is very good. Sun Wukong originally planned to leave early after hiding here for a while. Now, the wind is strong and the wolves are reluctant to leave. It is really embarrassing. Chi-Mu Kusuo did not answer, but took steady steps. The Wolf King sniffed around here, and suddenly, the Wolf King saw a bulging thing in the corner. The Wolf King approached slowly, and after seeing clearly that the thing in the corner was Chi-Mu Kusuo and Sun Wukong, the Wolf King stretched out his claws and pounced on the two. The bright moonlight shone on the backs of the two, and the Wolf King approached quietly. Sun Wukong and Chi-Mu Kusuo were unaware of the danger behind them. Chapter 732. The stench of the Wolf King came, and Chi-Mu Kusuo subconsciously looked up, and he found that the Wolf King had arrived behind him. Seeing the Wolf King's ferocious face, Seiki Kusuo was frightened and pulled Sun Wukong up from the ground. Damn it, I have been hiding so well, but I was found by this guy. It seems that I must fight him to the death today. Seiki Kusuo felt very unhappy. It was really unfair for me to hide like this today. I thought I could spend today safely. Who knew that the Wolf King could find me? While admiring the Wolf King, Seiki Kusuo felt a little angry. He was the king of a tribe before, but now he is just like the fugitive. I didn't expect that we would meet again. You guys are just like this. I thought you were so capable, but you are just like that turtle. Tilda. The Wolf King mocked. Seeing that Seiki Kusuo and Sun Wukong had changed their faces in fear, the Wolf King felt very successful. The two of them were respectable opponents after chasing all the way here. Originally, the Wolf King was going to fight with them, but now it seems unnecessary. It seems that Seiki Kusuo and Sun Wukong don't have much real skills at all. How powerful do you think you are? Believe it or not, I, Sun Wukong, can smash your head into pulp with one stick. Sun Wukong seemed very unconvinced and simply let go of Seiki Kusuo. Today he must teach the Wolf King a lesson. He is not someone who is easy to bully. Don't think about making trouble here. Do you know what our current situation is? You might lose your life in a while. Run away quickly. Seiki Kusuo didn't care about being a hero at the moment. It was important to save his life. There were many wolves behind the Wolf King. There were only two of them, him and Sun Wukong. If they really fought, they would not be able to hold on for long. The wolf pack was really powerful. Without waiting for Sun Wukong to react, Seiki Kusuo pulled Sun Wukong and ran forward. At this moment, the little bug that was blown by the wind also flew over. Boss, you two run quickly. This wolf is really powerful. We should not fight him. The bug flapped its wings vigorously and followed the two of them, and did not forget to shout loudly. Zero please flowers. While being blown away by the wind just now, the bug also saw the number of wolves. Looking around, this area is densely packed with the Wolf King's men. Shut up, of course we know we have to run, but you don't see where we can run to in this wilderness. Seiki Kusuo seemed very upset. All the way here, they haven't done their business yet, but they are entangled by the wolf pack. Where can the two hide in the middle of the night? Now they are far away from the insects. The Wolf King was not in a hurry to chase. Instead, he let Seiki Kusuo and Sun Wukong run in front. The Wolf King looked at the two of them arrogantly and complacently. In the eyes of the Wolf King, these two had long been his prey. Now, let them move around in front, just as if they were exercising their muscles, and the taste will be better in a while. It's really not suitable to go out tonight. The plan that I have thought of so well was still exposed. While Seiki Kusuo took a step, he did not forget to complain a few words. Today's experience was really annoying. Work. Chapter 733. Seeing that the two had run away for a distance, the Wolf King could no longer bear it, and followed directly with many wolves. The wolves ran with big steps. After a while, they met Seiki Kusuo. They closed the distance between them. Seeing the Wolf King chasing behind him, Seiki Kusuo became more and more nervous. Under the bright moonlight, the Wolf King's sharp claws were still shining. Once the claws touched the necks of the two, they would die before they could react. What should I do now? I now really realize how powerful the Wolf King is. Sun Wukong looked at Seiki Kusuo for help. At this moment, he felt a little helpless. Just now, he was thinking about rushing over to fight with the Wolf King. Now it seems that his strength is indeed inferior to the Wolf King, and it is not appropriate to have an open dispute with the Wolf King. Run first, I don't know what to do. There are too many wolves. Even if we have thousands of treasures in our hands, I am afraid we can't subdue them in time. Seiki Kusuo took as big a step as possible, and the Wolf King also quickened his pace. After chasing all the way, the two were exhausted. Seiki Kusuo and Sun Wukong both had little strength left. Seiki Kusuo's hair was wet with sweat and stuck to his forehead. He felt very uncomfortable. The little bug also had little strength left, flapping its wings, and simply landed on Seiki Kusuo's shoulder. At this moment, the little bug didn't care about the distinction between superiors and subordinates. He just felt that his wings were about to break, and he had to find a new place to land. Seiki Kusuo really couldn't run anymore. Seeing that the Wolf King was about to catch up, Seiki Kusuo simply used illusion. Now it was important to save his own life first. Seiki Kusuo transformed himself and Sun Wukong into several shapes, scattered in different parts, trying to attract the attention of the Wolf King. The illusion broke out, and the shadows of Seiki Kusuo and Sun Wukong were fixed in place and disappeared. Looking at the several Seiki Kusuo and Sun Wukong in front of him, the Wolf King seemed a little confused. He never expected that humans would have such a good ability. Seeing the wolves wandering back and forth among these shadows, Seiki Kusuo and Sun Wukong gasped for breath. They were really exhausted just now. If they continued running, they felt that their legs would break. Damn it, what kind of magic did these two guys use? The Wolf King couldn't tell which one was the real one for a while. He wandered back and forth among these shadows, and he seemed a little angry. The wolves wandered around here, but still couldn't find Seiki Kusuo and Sun Wukong. Many wolves wandered around here for a long time. There was really no way. The Wolf King was ready to take these wolves away. Later, there would be a chance to kill Seiki Kusuo and Sun Wukong again. Just when these wolves turned around, the moonlight suddenly disappeared. The various shadows that Seiki Kusuo had transformed into disappeared at once, and the real bodies of the two were exposed. Unfortunately, the Wolf King and many wolves also turned around at this time. Seeing the green eyes of these guys, Seiki Kusuo straightened his back. We finally managed to escape, but now, God wants us to die here. Chi-Mu Kusuo looked very irritable. God has played a lot of tricks on him and Sun Wukong along the way. The wolves were finally about to leave, but who knew that in the last few seconds, the moonlight suddenly disappeared and the sky was covered with dark clouds. Chapter 734. Seeing the wolves approaching step by step, Chi-Mu Kusuo knew that the battle with the wolves today had to start, and there was no room for retreat. Chi-Mu Kusuo pushed Sun Wukong down. Sun Wukong, these wolves will not let us go easily. You leave quickly. I will stay here to stop the wolves. It is better to leave one person behind than to be killed by the wolves together. Chi-Mu Kusuo shouted at Sun Wukong. Sun Wukong has taken good care of him along the way. The encounter with the wolves this time was all due to his wrong command. People always have to pay for their mistakes, and he didn't want to implicate Sun Wukong. What are you talking about? In your eyes, am I just one of those cowardly villains? Sun Wukong asked angrily. He got up from the ground in a flash. He was indeed afraid of these wolves. But if he was asked to abandon Seiki Kusuo and leave at this time, what would it mean? After all, he was a man with backbone. Today's situation is really special. Don't be stubborn with me here. There are too many wolves. The two of us can't resist them at all. You should leave earlier. I'll delay you for a while here. Seiki Kusuo kept pushing Sun Wukong. He didn't want the two of them to be buried in the wolf's belly together. The Zerg will have a return visit mission in the future. If Sun Wukong can leave this place safely, he can also be more relieved. At least there will be someone to arrange the unfinished tasks for him in the future. Shut up, are you scared? I tell you, I can accompany you until now, that is to treat you as my own brother, I can't abandon my own brother in danger. Sun Wukong grabbed Seiki Kusuo's clothes tightly. The little bug also landed on Seiki Kusuo's shoulder. The three of them accompanied each other all the way. Now that the disaster is coming, how can they bear to abandon Seiki Kusuo and leave like this? There are many opportunities to be heroes, but today it is important to save their lives. The Wolf King also knew that these three people will never go again. The Wolf King slowly approached this side with the wolf pack. Seeing Seiki Kusuo and Sun Wukong in such a miserable state, the Wolf King seemed more and more excited. The more these prey struggled, the more excited the Wolf King was. Sun Wukong, don't forget that you still have many tasks to complete. Why bother to stay here with me? It is fate that we two met. Now the fate is over. You should leave quickly. Seiki Kusuo didn't care about any politeness and simply kicked Sun Wukong. If Sun Wukong didn't leave today and was implicated by himself, he would die and go to hell, and he would not be able to rest in peace. Seiki Kusuo, wake up, I tell you, even if I have to go through fire and water today, I will accompany you. Although I am not a great hero, I am not the kind of villain who runs away when I encounter difficulties. Sun Wukong straightened his back and simply stood in front of Seiki Kusuo. Regardless of the fact that they are just wolves, a man can still be a hero in 18 years. If I flee in such a miserable way today, I will not be able to live in this world in the future. Good brothers do not ask to be born on the same day of the same month of the same year, but to die on the same day of the same month of the same year. Today, we either leave together or die here together. Sun Wukong shouted loudly, and his tone was very firm. Chapter 735. The sky was covered with dark clouds. Although everything in front of him looked very blurry, in this darkness, Chimu Kusuo could clearly see Sun Wukong's firm eyes. Seeing Sun Wukong like this, Chimu Kusuo seemed very moved. He did not expect Sun Wukong to be so righteous. When the two met for the first time, they fought many battles. Okay, in this case, then we will either live together or die together. Chimu Kusuo patted Sun Wukong on the shoulder, and his tone was also very firm. Since Sun Wukong wanted to stay here to accompany him, he couldn't say anything discouraging. Even if they risked their lives to get out today, they would have to fight these wolves. Seeing the two of them like this, the Wolf King laughed mockingly. Now that they were almost on the road to the underworld, these two brothers in distress really had a good friendship. You two are really weird, rushing to die. Today I can fulfill your wish. Come one by one, and then I will tear you apart and eat you. You can continue to be good brothers in our stomach's diaresis. The Wolf King laughed loudly, and then waved his claws, signaling the wolves behind him to pounce forward and bite. They were exhausted after chasing all the way here, and now they urgently needed to eat some human flesh to replenish their physical strength. The meat of Seiki Kusuo and Sun Wukong was very good, and the Wolf King looked at them and seemed very greedy. Damn guys, come over here, if I don't kill you today, I, Seiki Kusuo, will die here at worst. Seiki Kusuo stared at the wolves fiercely. Since these wolves don't want to let him go easily, there is no need for him to talk to the wolves about reason. These guys regard him as prey, and he must resist. Seiki Kusuo, don't drag these beasts to reason, just fight with them. If you win, the two of us will roast wolf meat. If you can't win, the worst thing is to die here together. Sun Wukong took out his golden cudgel and stood on the same front with Seiki K. You two should do your best. Don't worry, I will never run away. Since I have followed you all the way here, I will join the battle today. The little bug frantically flapped its wings. Although its figure was much smaller than that of the wolf pack, the little bug was not afraid at all. Being beside Seiki Kusuo, the bug felt inexplicably at ease. Now that the two division commanders were going to the front line to charge and kill the enemy, it was not easy for him to retreat. At worst, they would die here together. The three looked at each other, nodded, and then started a big battle with the wolf pack. The wolf kept stretching out its claws to grab the three people. Seiki Kusuo launched a fireball attack on the wolves, thinking of burning them to death here. The Wolf King seemed very smart. He had expected Seiki Kusuo to use such a trick, and the Wolf King had already arranged for the wolves to prepare defensive moves. In addition, it rained heavily outside tonight, and the fireball attack was obviously weakened. Good job, Zhao. Although Seiki Kusuo had burst out with great strength, he seemed to be at a disadvantage after several fights with these wolves. Seeing the wolves approaching him, Seiki Kusuo felt a little desperate. The arrogant Sun Wukong seemed a little flustered at this moment. The Wolf King stood in front of the two and made a mocking sound. Seiki Kusuo really had no other choice, so he simply used the wood escape technique to pull Seiki Kusuo into the ground. Chapter 736. Seiki Kusuo pulled Sun Wukong and ran forward quickly. At this moment, Seiki Kusuo was so scared that his brain went blank, and he ran like a machine. No, it's not a solution to keep going like this. If we can't solve the problem by catching the wolves, I'm afraid we won't be able to leave this place safely. Sun Wukong looked behind him from time to time. Chimu Kusuo had no time to talk, he just pulled Sun Wukong hard. Escaping was the most important thing now. As for the wolves, we can talk about it later. Just now he also used a lot of moves, but these wolves were really smart, and it was not easy to deal with them. Outside, there was a strong wind and heavy rain, and Chimu Kusuo and Sun Wukong ran. The movement gradually slowed down. The wood release technique is much more powerful than the fireball. Underground, Seiki Kusuo and Sun Wukong got a brief peace, and the little bugs kept sticking to their shoulders. It's raining so hard outside now, and those wolves don't mean to leave. Where should we go now? Sun Wukong seemed very confused. Looking at everything strange around him, Sun Wukong didn't know which direction to go. Now they find it difficult to deal with these wolves. If they encounter leopards or other large prey in a while, I'm afraid they will really die here. Why bother so much? As long as we stay away from these wolves, there will always be a chance to escape. Now the moonlight is dim, it's not convenient for us to move. While wiping the water off his face, Seiki Kusuo did not forget to comfort Sun Wukong. In the evening, the sight of the two was blocked to a certain extent. Now they can only hold on here. When the sun comes out, these wolves will naturally fade away. Wolves are nocturnal animals. Seeing that there were no wolves chasing them, the two slowed down their pace and began to walk out of the cave. Since there were still various smells of prey in the cave, it was inconvenient for the two to stay here for too long. The two were really worried that a big bear would get in. What the hell is going on? If we had known this, we should have brought all the bugs out. With the help of those bugs, I guarantee that these sacks will be stung into a hornet's nest immediately. Sun Wukong missed the queen a little at this moment. Although he was always on guard against the queen before, now that he thought about it, it was thanks to the queen's help that the two were able to slip on their shoes many times in this primeval forest. Now that there is no insect tribe as a strong backing, it is too difficult for the two to walk in it, so they encountered such troubles not long after moving forward. Don't think too much. Find a place to hide. It's raining so hard. If you continue to hang around outside, you might be targeted by other things in a while. Chimu Kusuo just felt exhausted. At this moment, he wanted to find a place to sit down and rest. Just now, he used magic and ran wildly. Chimu Kusuo felt very weak and was hanging on by a breath. The two observed the surroundings. Seeing that there was no sign of other prey nearby, the two breathed a sigh of relief. The rain outside was too heavy, and the mountain road became a little slippery. Chimu Kusuo looked around and decided to hide under a tree. Although it rained heavily tonight, there was no thunder, which was a relatively lucky thing. Be wrong here for tonight. After these wolves retreat, I will think of a way to take you away. Chapter 737. The wolf was unwilling to give up. It was not easy to find some food along the way. In the eyes of these wolves, Seiki Kusuo and Sun Wukong are just a piece of delicious meat. Even if we have to dig through the ground today, we have to find these two people for me. We have been hungry for so long, and we must not let the duck fly away. The Wolf King gave the order, and the other wolves nodded and agreed. These wolves also missed the meat of the two people very much. Although the two people under the tree got a brief peace, they still felt a little uneasy. These wolves seemed very vigilant and chased them all the way. I am afraid that it would not be so easy to let these wolves leave. What have we done wrong to provoke these bad guys? They are carnivores. I saw that the wolves were very thin just now. I am afraid that they have not eaten well during this period. Thinking of the appearance of those wolves, Sun Wukong now feels a little scared. During the tea-drinking storm, Sun Wukong beat all kinds of monsters. This time the wolves were really powerful. Even with the help of Seiki Kusuo, his golden hoop stick would not be of much use. Don't worry about it for now. If the wolves come, we have to find other ways to escape. So we are ready to die, but we can't die in vain. Seiki Kusuo panted heavily. For Seiki Kusuo, this short piece was too luxurious. Seiki Kusuo just wanted to enjoy it. Tonight was very hard. Now he was not sleepy at all, but his whole body was very tired. The wolves were sniffing the breath of the two outside. The Wolf King thought that he would come here directly under the guidance of the smell. This time the Wolf King was also much more cautious. He deliberately told the wolves behind him to slow down their steps and slowly approach this place. The last time he failed, Seiki Kusuo had become alert. We smell too bad. I'm afraid the wolves will come looking for us soon. Let's use the rain to wash and cover our hiding place. Seiki Kusuo wiped the sweat from his forehead and then reacted. He hurriedly pulled Sun Wukong to wash in the rain. The two of them sweated a lot during the chase, and now they smelled bad. Zero, please give me flowers, damn it, if I have a chance to retaliate against these wolves, I will not let them go easily. I am so tired. Sun Wukong rubbed his body frantically and cursed. He was really exhausted this time. Because the moonlight was dim, the somersault cloud was also not being able to be summoned is really annoying. ... Keep your voice down. It's been so long. I'm afraid those sacks will slowly catch up with us. Hide yourself first. We can discuss revenge later. Seimu Kusuo increased his strength and even picked some smelly fruits to rub back and forth on his body. Sun Wukong hurriedly imitated Seimu Kusuo's movements. The two of them washed frantically in the rain, and the little bugs also joined them in bathing. At this moment, the Wolf King was slowly approaching here by smelling the smell. The Wolf King could sense that the two were hiding nearby and did not leave. Thinking of the delicious flesh of the two, the Wolf King licked his lips. Speed up your actions. We must catch these two people today. Worker. Chapter 738. The wolf pack's sense of smell is very sensitive. Although Seimu Kusuo and Sun Wukong have been trying their best to wash the smell off their bodies, the wolf pack still chased them. Seeing these guys grinning, Sun Wukong couldn't help but shudder. It was so dangerous tonight. I finally took a break, but before I could sit down, these guys caught up with me again. What do you want to do? If you are really hungry, why don't you go find some other prey nearby? Why bother to force us to kill the two of us? Chimyu Kusuo's voice sounded very weak. It took a lot of effort for him to run all the way here. He really didn't want to run forward now. The good prey is right in front of us. Why should we search for it elsewhere? If you really want to, you can just lie here and be eaten by us. The Wolf King smiled. Seeing the listless look of Chimyu Kusuo and Sun Wukong, the Wolf King seemed even more proud. It was obvious that these two guys couldn't run far. Seiki Kusuo was too lazy to reason with the wolves, so he simply pulled Sun Wukong forward. Both of them were soaked by the rain, and the mountain road was steep and difficult to walk on, so they walked very slowly along the way. The wolves were right behind them. No, we have to find a way to get rid of them. If we keep walking like this, we will be exhausted and still unable to escape. Sun Wukong lowered his voice and whispered. The wolves kept following behind him, and Sun Wukong felt more and more nervous. Now, as long as they slowed down, the wolves would chase them. Sun Wukong knew the psychology of these wolves very well. The reason why the wolves did not attack now was just to tease him and Seiki Kusuo and deliberately anger them. There is no other way. I can only fight them. But I don't have much strength now, and I don't know if I can cast the spell successfully. Chimyu Kusuo muttered a few words. He has very little chakra power in his body, and Chimyu Kusuo doesn't know how much power he can have if he suddenly bursts out. No matter what, I have to try it. If I continue like this, even if my legs are broken, I can't escape Zero. Sun Wukong signaled Chimyu Kusuo with his eyes that he could start to act. He didn't want to fight the underground war with these wolves anymore. Sun Wukong thought about resolving it as soon as possible. At worst, the wolves would die or they would die. Chi Mu Kusuo nodded and agreed. The two turned around suddenly, and Chi Mu Kusuo used magic to freeze several wolf pack tactics in place. Seeing that these guys couldn't move, Sun Wukong seemed very proud and suddenly became arrogant again. Little guys, you still want to fight with the two of us. You didn't even ask what I and Seiki Kusuo have experienced all the way here. How could I fall into the hands of you wolf cubs? Sun Wukong deliberately walked back and forth in front of these wolves, and even patted the face of the wolf standing in the front. Seeing Sun Wukong like this, Seiki Kusuo couldn't help shaking his head. He didn't eat much food on the way here, and his body didn't have much strength at all. Now that such a large amount of magic power has burst out, Seiki Kusuo feels that the power of his body is being rapidly transported out. The whole person also seems to be getting weaker and weaker, and his concentration is not enough. Chapter 739. Sun Wukong reacted and hurriedly assisted Seiki Kusuo. Sun Wukong outputted the power in his body crazily. But because the two of them were very weak, this approach could not help much. Seeing that these wolf warriors were about to break out, the two of them seemed more and more anxious. This time they completely angered the wolf pack. If this method fails, I'm afraid these wolves will no longer be polite to the two of them and will kill them here directly. Sun Wukong, I'll hold on first. You quickly think of some other ways. We must leave this area. I don't want to be eaten by these 06 guys. After all, I've struggled for so long. Chi Mu Kusuo gave instructions. He now has a strong desire to survive. Chi Mu Kusuo didn't want to go through all this in vain and end up being a delicacy in the wolf's stomach. Sun Wukong nodded. While paying attention to the changes in the wolf pack, he did not forget to observe the surroundings. The current situation seems very unfavorable for the two of them. At this moment, there is no new hiding place. Chi Mu Kusuo seems to be getting more and more anxious. He just feels that it won't be long before he falls down. These wolves stared at him with eager eyes. If he really let go, he and Sun Wukong would die miserably. Just when Seiki Kusuo felt desperate, Sun Wukong suddenly tied Seiki Kusuo to the tree. Don't worry, these wolves are too hungry to get up the tree. They won't be able to get up the tree for a while. When the time comes, use rebound and I will pull you directly to the tree, and we can get safe. Sun Wukong whispered in Seiki Kusuo's ear. Hearing this, Seiki Kusuo breathed a sigh of relief. Suddenly, the protective shield was opened. The wolves rushed towards the two of them, but fortunately the tree rebounded in time, and Seiki Kusuo sat directly on the branch, and Sun Wukong hurriedly followed. The wolves struggled to open the restraints. Every guy looked very annoyed. I thought these two people didn't have much ability, but who knew that they were fooled by Sun Wukong in the end. If I don't eat them alive today, I'll be sorry for myself. These two guys are really hateful. They dare to use such a trick to trick us. Where are these two guys now? Find them for me quickly. I must bite them to death today. The wolf warriors looked very angry. In the wolf pack, their identities are very precious, but not many creatures dare to do such impolite things to them. Just now, Seiki Kusuo treated them as prisoners, which was really too much. Many wolf warriors looked around and wanted to search for Seiki Kusuo and Sun Wukong. The two hid in the tree, covering their mouths as much as possible and hiding their bodies behind the branches and leaves. It rained heavily tonight, and the two of them had a certain weight. As soon as they moved, many raindrops fell crazily. The wolf pack subconsciously looked up and saw that the two of them looked even more irritable on the tree. These two damn guys actually hid in the tree when we were not paying attention. These two guys are really insidious and cunning. If we don't get rid of them, I'm afraid they will take revenge in the future. The wolves stared at Seiki Kusuo and Sun Wukong fiercely. The two of them held the branches tightly and dared not let go, for fear that they would slip down accidentally. Chapter 740. The wolves have been wandering under the tree, and they are reluctant to leave. On this way, except for Seiki Kusuo and Sun Wukong, no other prey was seen. Now this chase has consumed a lot of energy, and they are very hungry. What kind of heroes are you hiding in the tree? You two quickly get down and fight openly if you have the ability. The wolf warrior seemed very angry and kept shouting at the two people under the tree. The tree was too high, and these wolves were too hungry to climb up. You are so funny for saying those beastly things. We are climbing on the tree, so what? You are bullying the minority with your numbers. Seiki Kusuo retorted without any hesitation. He thought these wolves were really hateful. It would be fine if they were just challenging him. Now, they are rushing to bite him. If he doesn't hide in this tree, he will be dead. Come down quickly, don't force us to do something bad. The Wolf King was also impatient. They were very hungry and just wanted to eat the two big preys immediately. Seeing the two preys swinging back and forth on the tree, they were also itching. If you have the ability, come up. If you don't have the ability, just watch from below. Do you think we are fools and let you eat us? Sun Wukong seemed much bolder. One hand climbed the branch, and the other hand hung down from the tree and swung back and forth, deliberately tempting the wolves. We have been bullied by the wolves a lot along the way, and finally we have a chance to win. Sun Wukong, you should be more careful. These wolves are very angry now. If we let them rush up by accident, I am afraid that the two of us will be in danger again. I don't want to toss and turn again. Chi-Mu Kusuo pulled Sun Wukong over. Seeing these wolves roaming back and forth under the tree and shouting, Chi-Mu Kusuo also felt a little headache. If there was external support, I'm afraid the two would stay on this tree. Chi-Mu Kusuo felt very hungry at this moment. He ran all the way and the food he had eaten before was digested. Sun Wukong curled up his hands and feet on the branches. Seeing that these wolves had no intention of leaving, Sun Wukong also seemed a little flustered. There was no food source on this tree, and staying here all the time was not a good idea. I was afraid that these wolves would eat them. With enough strength, he rushed up in other ways. The little bug was very anxious watching from the side. Because his body was too small, he could not provide any help to the two. After thinking about it, the little bug decided to fly back to find the fighting bugs to help. The current situation is very bad. If there is really no external reinforcement, I am afraid that Sun Wukong and Seiki Kusuo will starve to death on the tree. The little bug rushed back to the insect tribe as quickly as possible. Seeing the return of the little bug, many bugs were also a little surprised. When the little bug left, he said goodbye to them. It's bad. Seiki Kusuo and Sun Wukong are blocked by wolves on the tree. You should go and save them quickly. The current situation is very unfavorable. The little bug panted heavily. He took a deep breath and finished speaking in one breath. Little bug felt much more relaxed. He didn't dare to stop and rest all the way back, for fear of being slow for a while. The fighting bugs came out in droves after hearing the news. Chapter 741. Led by Little Bug, the fighting bugs came here at the fastest speed. Seeing these familiar faces, Seiki Kusuo and Sun Wukong seemed very excited. Sun Wukong felt a little guilty while happy. He had doubted the sincerity of these bugs before, but now it seems that he was really worrying too much. You are really a despicable guy. You even asked for reinforcements from outside. You are a bad boy. The wolf warrior seemed very angry. It was a bit difficult to deal with Seiki Kusuo and Sun Wukong. Now, some strange bugs have come. Although these bugs are small in size, their fighting power is extremely strong. Once they start fighting with them, it will be difficult for the wolf pack to deal with them. You forced us first. Now that our reinforcements have arrived, you just wait to die. Go, Sun Wukong. Seimu Kusuo no longer evaded and rushed down from the tree. Sun Wukong followed closely behind. Under the leadership of Seimu Kusuo, a group of fighting insects and wolf warriors launched an attack. Although these wolves are burly, they are actually very troubled by these little things. After several battles, the little insects were unscathed, but the wolves were already stared at. Damn it, what is this mess? Tell them to get out of here. They are biting me to death. If you two have the ability, just fight us alone. Don't invite some little things over. These little insects are really annoying. I wish I could burn you to death. The wolf warriors were bitten and howled, and they were all in a state of madness. Seeing the wolves in such a state, Seiki Kusuo rushed over. These guys had taught him a lesson just now, and now that they had finally turned the tables, it was time to teach them a lesson. The little bugs also seemed very excited, joining the army of fighting bugs and biting the wolves. The little bugs seemed very powerful, using the venom in their tails to slowly make the wolves lose their strength. Seiki Kusuo, we have to teach them a lesson today, look at how angry I was just now. Sun Wukong shouted at the top of his voice, and seeing the wolves kneeling and howling, Sun Wukong felt happy in his heart. Just now, he and Seiki Kusuo were just a little bit away from becoming food in the stomachs of these wolf warriors. Seiki Kusuo signaled with his eyes, and then he and Sun Wukong attacked from both sides. The two also launched a fierce attack with the wolf warriors. The wolf warriors knew that it was not convenient for them to fight against the little bugs, so they simply concentrated all their forces on Seiki Kusuo and Sun Wukong. Fortunately, the little bugs reacted very promptly. Every time the wolf warriors attacked, they would go over in time to block their sight and cause interference. Although he didn't have much strength now, with the help of these little bugs, Seiki Kusuo seemed very energetic. He jumped and rode on a wolf. The wolf's hair was too lush. In order to prevent it from falling off, Seiki Kusuo grabbed the wolf's hair tightly, making the wolf howl in pain. You were so proud just now. I want to see how capable you are. You are still thinking about fighting with us. I will kill you if I don't. Seiki Kusuo didn't want the wolf to die too easily. He grabbed the wolf's flesh and pulled the wolf's hair. Chapter 742. Speaking of which, Seiki Kusuo himself didn't know why. After he sat on the wolf, the other wolves looked at him in completely different ways. Just when everyone was shocked, the wolf pack began to become obedient and had no intention of attacking Seiki Kusuo again. Seiki Kusuo thought it was a trick, and after testing for a long time, he realized that he was worrying too much. All the wolves looked at Seiki Kusuo quietly, which made Seiki Kusuo feel that he was the wolf king at this moment. For some reason, the wolf he tamed also became quiet at this moment, and after looking at Seiki Kusuo for a few times, he stopped talking. Just when Seiki Kusuo was wondering, Sun Wukong looked at the scene in front of him and said, "In my opinion, the wolf you conquered is not an ordinary wolf, but their wolf king." Hearing this, Seiki Kusuo was very surprised. He bowed his head and looked at the adult wolf in front of him that he had caught, and it just looked at him indifferently. To catch a thief, you must first catch the leader. That's the truth. I've heard people say that once the leader of a wolf pack is caught, the wolf pack will not dare to do anything more. Sun Wukong said, casting his eyes on the wolf pack in front of him. After confirming that the wolves in front of him were all very quiet, he nodded. This was the first time that Seiki Kusuo understood the survival rules of the wolf pack. This unexpected feeling made him feel a little happy. Just when Seiki Kusuo was more confused, the wolf king under his command began to move. Perhaps after hearing the affirmation given by Sun Wukong, he unhurriedly let go of his hand and wanted to see what the wolf king was going to do. Finally, he figured it out. The Wolf King looked at the wolf pack in front of him, and his behavior seemed to reveal his helplessness. Somehow, the wolf pack seemed to understand what their king was going to do, and they all bowed their heads. The Wolf King knelt down in front of Seiki Kusuo, and Seiki Kusuo knew very well that this was a sign of submission. After seeing their king surrender, the wolves in front of them knelt down one by one. The scene was very shocking for a while. It is estimated that Seiki Kusuo, who was still fighting not long ago, would never have thought that all the wolves would surrender to him now. Zero, please give flowers. And Sun Wukong was also a little shocked in his heart. He had won many battles in his life, but this time the wolf pack really shocked him mentally. He walked to Seiki Kusuo with a little envy and said, "Boy, you are good. You can achieve this at such a young age. If you tell others about this, I tell you, you can show off for several years." 0. It seemed that Seiki Kusuo understood what this meant at once, and the wild wolves stared at Seiki Kusuo quietly. Like soldiers waiting for the king to issue orders, waiting to be dominated at any time. Sun Wukong, have you seen such a scene before? Seiki Kusuo asked. You stinky boy, you just want to show off. Hey, I have been glorious for so many years, and finally I have to see such a world here. Sun Wukong looked at Seiki Kusuo and began to laugh at himself. He was not really excited. At this moment, he was still shocked by the wolves kneeling down one by one. At this moment, he didn't know what language to use to express his feelings. Work. Chapter 743. While the two were chatting happily, Sun Wukong seemed to realize something and said to Seiki Kusuo, "This Wolf King seems to have something to say to you." Seiki Kusuo looked and saw that it was indeed the case. He saw the Wolf King raised his head and looked at Seiki Kusuo. "Can you speak?" Seiki Kusuo asked with some curiosity. The answer given by the Wolf King really shocked him. Yes. 140. Sun Wukong seemed to be a little bit used to it, and said, "You are still a little young, I have seen this scene often in the past." Indeed, Seiki Kusuo was still shocked for a moment, but then he really calmed down and started chatting with the Wolf King, asking, "What's the matter?" The Wolf King seemed to hesitate for a moment, and then said a few words, but Seiki Kusuo didn't understand a word. He looked at Sun Wukong very confusedly, as if he hoped that Sun Wukong could help him translate, but Sun Wukong was also powerless. The two looked at each other, and then looked at the Wolf King together. The Wolf King thought for a while and explained, although it is said to be enlightened, it is not very familiar with human behavior. It usually lives in its own tribe and rarely talks to real humans. Chi-Mu Kusuo nodded, and then the Wolf King continued, "If possible, I have an unwelcome request." With doubts, Chi-Mu Kusuo nodded and motioned the Wolf King to continue. The Wolf King understood and continued, "We don't know the direction of this land. All wolves have no prey to eat. If this continues, we may not have the strength to protect ourselves. The current energy does not support us to move forward. If we don't make any changes, we can only wait to die slowly." Hearing it say this, Chi-Mu Kusuo suddenly remembered that when he came here before, he had seen many peach trees and many rabbits. They were originally wolves and carnivores. Chi-Mu Kusuo knew very well what it wanted. But he also understood that he needed to get a certain reward, otherwise it would be too unprofitable. After finally getting the entire wolf tribe to submit to him, how could he not ask for a little benefit? Thinking of this, Chi-Mu Kusuo smiled and looked at the Wolf King. The Wolf King also vaguely felt that it was impossible to get benefits without paying a little bit. 0. But it seems that there is no way now. Perhaps it is hunger that is at work. The Wolf King's steps began to become weak and he could no longer stand. Instead, he lay quietly on the ground, looking up at Chi-Mu Kusuo, as if hoping to get a little response from the other party. Chi-Mu Kusuo has never been an unreasonable person. Seeing the Wolf King so uncomfortable, he slowly helped the Wolf King up and then said, "Don't worry, although I don't come to this place often, I have seen a lot of hares and peaches." All the wolves understood what Chi-Mu Kusuo said, and they all looked at Chi-Mu Kusuo like dementia, as if they were grabbing the last straw. Chi-Mu Kusuo obviously couldn't stand them looking at him like this. This would make him feel that it would be too ruthless if he made his own demands again. He endured not looking at the wolves, and looked at the Wolf King very silently, as if he was brewing something. The Wolf King also guessed something about this. Chapter 744. After a while of silence, the Wolf King broke the silence. "If there are any conditions, you can ask, and I will do it if I can do it. You also know that pie will not fall from the sky, and my conditions are also very simple. In the final analysis, I just need a word from you, the Wolf King." After hearing the word, Wolf King, the Wolf King laughed at himself, and then he didn't say anything, just staring at Seiki Kusuo blankly. "I hope you can be loyal to me." After these words came out, it seemed that all the wolves held their breath, which made it so quiet. "We are loyal to you." The Wolf King seemed to be still reacting, repeating the request made by Seiki Kusuo over and over again. Finally, he looked at Seiki Kusuo powerlessly, as if he had compromised and wanted to nod. But at this moment, there was a commotion among the wolf pack, and it was obvious that some wolves disagreed. After one wolf made a cry, the second and third wolves began to get agitated, and finally all the wolves became restless. Seiki Kusuo watched all this calmly, and so did the Wolf King, as if he had long expected his people to have such an attitude. After all the wolves had vented their anger, the Wolf King called out for the last time, signaling all the wolves to calm down. This call was very useful. No matter how noisy all the wolves were at the beginning, at this moment they only focused their attention on the Wolf King. The Wolf King called out a few more times, as if he had received the approval of the wolf pack. The wolves in the wolf pack looked at each other, and none of them knew what to say. At the last command, all the wolves knelt down at this moment, just like Seiki Kusuo defeated the Wolf King before. However, this time was different. They not only knelt down, but also put their heads on the ground. Compared with the previous time, this time was a true surrender. And the previous time was more like saving face for his own king. Faced with such a situation, Seiki Kusuo was completely satisfied, and the Wolf King looked at his satisfied look and said, "Is that enough? We want to eat food right away, okay." This was a request, and of course there was no problem for Seiki Kusuo. He immediately said, "Of course we have no problem at any time. The most important thing is whether you can persist in walking there. That is the closest place with a lot of food that I know of, but it is not very close after all." When the Wolf King heard that there was food, he tried to stand up and said to Seiki Kusuo, "We can do it any time, and please help lead the way." Seiki Kusuo nodded. It happened that he was very hungry at this time. Sun Wukong climbed to the highest point and helped everyone find the best way to pass. Seeing that Seiki Kusuo had no convenient tools, the Wolf King said, "If you don't mind, you can ride on me." Seiki Kusuo nodded and sat on it. Everyone followed Sun Wukong's direction and continued to walk forward. After walking for a long time, they still didn't see the place with food that Seiki Kusuo said. "Excuse me, how long will it take? I think we may not be able to hold on for too long. It's almost there. I remember it's near here. I have seen it. Look, it's right there. Do you see the tree with fruits?" Chapter 745. All the wolves seemed to have seen a savior at this moment. After stopping, they began to cheer loudly here. Seeing this, the Wolf King seemed to have some small relief and said, "Thank you very much, Akiki Kusuo." This was the first time that Seiki Kusuo heard the Wolf King say his name, which always gave Seiki Kusuo a very special feeling. He thought he was just here to lead the way, but after he came, Seiki Kusuo slowly realized that he was also hungry. Sun Wukong seemed to know a lot about picking peaches. After seeing the peach tree, he rushed to the peach tree without stopping. He picked more than a dozen peaches at a time. As soon as he picked the peaches, Sun Wukong threw them down to Seiki Kusuo. After Seiki Kusuo received them, many wolves, including the Wolf King, received them one after another. Wolves are carnivores. It was their first time trying this kind of fruit, so they were still quite unfamiliar with it. But Seiki Kusuo had already enjoyed it. "This peach is so sweet." Diaresis. Sun Wukong seemed a little different. Everyone was immersed in the delicious taste of peaches, but he was more immersed in the pleasure of picking peaches. For a moment, the peach forest that was originally full of peaches became empty. Seeing that Sun Wukong was increasingly unable to control himself, Seiki Kusuo spoke up to stop him. "Sun Wukong, that's enough." Sun Wukong also stopped after hearing this, and the wolves had almost finished eating, but the only drawback was that there was no meat. Everyone knew this, but the wolves became quiet after eating the peaches. Because they knew very well that if they hadn't met Seiki Kusuo, they might have been waiting to die on the spot, let alone peaches, and there might not even be grass for them to eat. On the contrary, Seiki Kusuo thought of this, and he proposed to take the wolves to the rabbit nest not far away. The Wolf King was naturally happy, as this was a good thing to fill his stomach, so he brought the wolves behind him and followed Seiki Kusuo to the rabbit nest. What made them happy was that there was no food here that would make them unable to share. After seeing the rare prey, everyone rushed to pounce on it one by one, and the Wolf King watched on the spot. He said to Seiki Kusuo, "Thank you very much for what happened today. If you encounter any difficulties or anything, we will definitely repay you with gratitude." This time, it was rare for Seiki Kusuo to hear the Wolf King's words clearly. After he finished speaking, the Wolf King followed all the wolves into the rabbit den. Looking at the ferocious appearance of the wolves, Seiki Kusuo walked out and saw Sun Wukong waiting outside. He said, "It is really unfair to let carnivores like wolves try to eat peaches. At first, I didn't have any objection to seeing them eating peaches one by one. Obviously they were all starving. How is it? Have you picked enough peaches? When Sun Wukong heard Seiki Kusuo teasing him about this, he also smiled and replied, "It's really been too long since I picked peaches, so I couldn't help it. Can't we take them back? We can quench our thirst while we are on the road. Chi-Chi is helping us clean up. Let's go out first. It may take some time for the wild wolf to clean up the current situation." Okay, let's go. Chapter 746. The Wolf King looked at the rabbit with disdain. He thought Seiki Kusuo would get him something delicious, but it turned out to be just this thing. After all, I am the Wolf King. With my noble status, am I only worthy of eating these things? I won't eat them. Take them away. The Wolf King simply stepped aside. Seeing the Wolf King's arrogant look, Seiki Kusuo smiled disdainfully. Now in this wilderness, it is good enough to have a bite of meat to fill the stomach, so why should he be so picky here? If you don't want to eat, stay aside. Anyway, I won't force you to eat. There is only so much rabbit meat. Let's share it among the three of us. I am worried that I won't be full. Seiki Kusuo stuffed the rabbit meat into his mouth. Although there were not many seasonings, the taste was really delicious. The Wolf King was so ungrateful, which was good for him and Sun Wukong. How can there be such a picky Wolf King? The two of us roasted the rabbit and ate it. The rabbit meat is so plump. He really doesn't know what's good. Sun Wukong muttered a few words on the side. The Wolf King squatting on the side felt a little aggrieved. He didn't eat this stuff in the first place. Although he was very hungry, he could never lower his status. It was embarrassing enough to be willing to submit to Seiki Kusuo this time. If you two like to eat it, eat up the rabbit meat. Anyway, I won't eat it. It's not worthy of my status. Why should I grumble with you here? The Wolf King complained a few words and turned away. Although he was still a little unclear, Seiki Kusuo and Sun Wukong had been with the Wolf King for several hours after all, and they could hear the tone of the Wolf King's speech clearly. Seeing the Wolf King like this, Seiki Kusuo laughed even more wantonly. He didn't expect that the Wolf King had a contrasting cute side. Since this thing is not worthy of our noble status as the Wolf King, it's better for us commoners to eat it. Chimyu Kusuo deliberately teased the Wolf King. The Wolf King did not understand the meaning of Chimyu Kusuo's words. He just kept his back to the two of them. The smell of barbecue came from behind, and the Wolf King's stomach growled with hunger. But the Wolf King really couldn't let go of his face, and kept swallowing his saliva, trying not to turn around to look at the two. This tastes really good. I haven't eaten wild game for a long time. If I come again, I must add seasoning. It's really great. Chimyu Kusuo turned the rabbit in his hand and shouted to Sun Wukong. This rabbit meat is plump. If it is supplemented with a little honey, it will be a real delicacy. Even without seasoning, we still taste delicious. Just eat slowly. Some guys just don't know how to appreciate their blessings. Sun Wukong joked a few words on the side. The Wolf King simply covered his ears. The two people kept making noises behind him, and the smell of barbecue kept coming. The Wolf King felt more and more hungry. Sun Wukong and Seiki Kusuo gathered together to barbecue. Just at this time, Seiki Kusuo suddenly heard footsteps coming from the nearby bushes. Seiki Kusuo seemed very alert. He had finally escaped from the mouth of the Wolf King. Seiki Kusuo didn't want any wild boars to come out of the bushes in a while. I feel someone coming here. Did you hear the sound? Seiki Kusuo whispered to Sun Wukong's ear. Chapter 747. Hearing this, Sun Wukong perked up and pricked up his ears. He also heard rustling sounds coming from the bushes. We didn't see any other animals in the bushes along the way. Could it be a python? Sun Wukong looked ahead in surprise and muttered softly. The Wolf King beside him wanted to go forward to check after hearing what Sun Wukong said. Chimyu Kusuo pulled the Wolf King over. The Wolf King had no strength at all now. If he really encountered a python, I'm afraid that the combined strength of the three of them would not be able to beat it. You two quickly hide, I'll take a look at the situation below. Chimyu Kusuo pushed and shouted at the two of them. Sun Wukong was not polite, he put away the food in his hand and climbed up the tree. Chimu Kusuo found a relatively hidden place to stand, and the Wolf King squatted in front of Chimu Kusuo. Sun Wukong on the tree stretched his neck and looked down. He wanted to see what strange things were in the bushes. As time passed slowly, the firewood on the ground was burned out. Smelling the smell of the burnt rabbit, Chimu Kusuo took a deep breath. Speaking of this, why hasn't the thing in the bush come out yet? My rabbit meat was burnt, what a pity. Saimu Kusuo sighed. Seeing that the rabbit meat was shrinking, he really wanted to rush out and take it back. If it weren't for the constant movement in the bush, he would not have bothered to stay here. Seeing Seiki Kusuo being so greedy, the Wolf King shook his head. It was already this time, and there might be a disaster coming, so how could he have the mind to eat? Seiki Kusuo squatted here and waited for a long time, and the thing in the bush finally poked its head out. After seeing the face of this thing clearly, Seiki Kusuo seemed a little surprised. He didn't expect it to be a rabbit spirit that had cultivated. Woo, we clearly agreed that after we cultivated together, we would go to the human world to play. How come you were eaten by bad guys and left me alone? The rabbit spirit cried while holding the rabbit's bones. Seiki Kusuo was even more stunned when he watched from the side. He didn't expect that in this place where wolves were rampant, there were rabbits that could cultivate into spirits. Oh my god, what the hell is this? We caught a rabbit to eat, but now we've brought out the rabbit spirit, the ancestor of the rabbit. Zero, please give me flowers. Chimu Kusuo muttered a few words in a low voice. Facing the reaction of the rabbit spirit, Chimu Kusuo felt both funny and a little pitiful. Just now I was scared to death. I thought it was another monster. Who knew it was a rabbit spirit? It's a waste not to eat this delicious food that was delivered to the door. It's a false alarm. Zero. Sun Wukong on the tree patted his chest and breathed a sigh of relief. He thought that some huge monster would emerge from the bushes. Now it seems that they are really making a fuss. The rabbit spirit kept crying while holding the bones. Chimu Kusuo felt a little impatient listening to it, so he simply walked out of the bushes. Life in this forest has always been based on the principle of natural selection and survival of the fittest. It is common sense for people to eat rabbits, so there are not so many sad things to say. Chimu Kusuo did not avoid the rabbit spirit, but walked out swaggeringly, sat down next to the firewood pile, and even did not forget to turn over the roasted rabbit legs on the stove. Seeing Chimu Kusuo like this, the rabbit spirit stared at him viciously. Work. Chapter 748. Chimu Kusuo did not pay attention to the rabbit spirit, leaving it aside. He always felt that the rabbit spirit was stupid. You son of a bitch, you actually hurt my partner. Do you know what you have done to hurt the world? I spit on you, you shameless thing. The rabbit spirit cursed, and even spit saliva on Chimu Kusuo's face. Chimu Kusuo did not care, wiped his face, and continued to eat the rabbit legs. There is no point in arguing with such a beast. Besides, the rabbit had been killed by him. If he didn't eat it, wouldn't it be a waste? He was very hungry all the way here. He finally found some food to fill his stomach. How could he throw it away easily? Are you deaf? Why don't you pay attention to me when I talk to you? Don't you even have a word of apology? What kind of person are you? You are so vicious. Seeing Seiki Kusuo's cold look, the rabbit spirit roared into Seiki Kusuo's ears. It had never seen such a shameless person. Now that the family members have come to the door, Seiki Kusuo has not apologized. Hey, I have to say that this rabbit leg is really delicious. Although the meat is a little burnt, it is crunchy and delicious in the mouth. Seiki Kusuo did not refute, and continued to eat the rabbit leg in his hand, and did not forget to smack his lips a few times, deliberately disgusting the rabbit spirit. Seeing Seiki Kusuo like this, the rabbit spirit was irritable. You damn thing, you think I'm a sick cat because the rabbit doesn't show its power. Today I must roast you and make you apologize to my friends in hell. The rabbit spirit rushed towards Seiki Kusuo. The rabbit spirit was fierce. Just when Seiki Kusuo was about to attack, the Wolf King suddenly blocked the rabbit spirit. Little rabbit, it's really not easy to cultivate into a shape. I advise you to think twice before doing anything. Since your partner is dead, don't make unnecessary entanglements. The Wolf King stared at the rabbit spirit fiercely and persuaded him. Seeing that the Wolf King and Seiki Kusuo were so friendly, the rabbit spirit spat a mouthful of phlegm directly on the king's leg. Bah! You stinky and shameless thing, you are obviously an animal, but now you are mixed with these humans, you two are in cahoots, what qualifications do you have to come and teach me a lesson? 0. The rabbit spirit was angry at the Wolf King. Seeing that the Wolf King was so loyal to Seiki Kusuo, the rabbit spirit seemed very contemptuous. The Wolf King is the leader of a tribe after all, but now he is no different from Seiki Kusuo's lackey, and he is actually circling around one person. Why are you so excited, rabbit? Even if your friend is not eaten by me today, he will be captured by other monsters. You have lived here for so long, you naturally understand the survival rules of this primeval forest. Why bother with me here? You may lose your life. Seiki Kusuo mocked him. The rabbit spirit seemed even more annoyed, and stretched out a claw directly towards Seiki Kusuo. The Wolf King hit back. Although the Wolf King did not have much strength, the rabbit spirit was also knocked back several steps after this slap. Seeing the Wolf King defending him like this, Seiki Kusuo was also very moved. He did not expect that the Wolf King, who had always wanted to eat him before, would treat him as a friend at this moment, and would help him in danger, protecting in front of him. Chapter 749. The fire on the ground was burning fiercely, and the rabbit head that was thrown aside was roasted and smelled fragrant. Chimyu Kusuo lifted the rabbit head with a stick and handed it to the Wolf King. The rabbit meat tastes very delicious. Although it is not worthy of your status, it can still fill your stomach temporarily. Don't be so disgusted and go to the side to eat. Chimyu Kusuo gestured to the Wolf King to take the rabbit head. The Wolf King had spent a lot of effort to slap it just now. Seeing the Wolf King drooping his head, Chimyu Kusuo also knew that the Wolf King was very hungry now. The reason why he said this was just to hope that the Wolf King could accept it calmly. Chimyu Kusuo didn't want to watch his wolf brother starve to death. The Wolf King also looked at Chimyu Kusuo with gratitude. This time, the Wolf King did not show any arrogance. He took the rabbit head and squatted aside to chew it. Seeing the friendly scene between the Wolf King and Seiki Kusuo, the rabbit spirit became even more irritable. This man and wolf really did not take him seriously and devoured their own kind in front of him. You two hateful guys, since you like to eat barbecue so much, I will roast you first and then hang up this Wolf King. The rabbit spirit was furious and rushed towards Seiki Kusuo again. Seeing the rabbit spirit talking so arrogantly, Seiki Kusuo laughed even more. It's just an elf who has just cultivated and formed. What qualifications does it have to shout at him here? I'm bored today anyway. I feel greasy in my stomach after eating rabbit meat. I might as well play with the rabbit spirit. Little guy, don't talk big too early. If you can pass this level of mine today, I will let you deal with me. Seiki Kusuo hit back with a palm. In order to avoid killing the rabbit spirit with one palm, Seiki Kusuo's subordinates showed some mercy. Damn human, why do you do such a cruel thing? If you hadn't captured my partner, he would have been able to cultivate into a human form soon. The rabbit spirit roared at Seiki Kusuo again. He and the dead rabbit were good brothers. The two rabbits had discussed before that when they turned into human forms together, they would go out to travel and see the beautiful scenery of the world. Now, not long after he went out, his brother was put on the fire rack and turned into a skeleton. Maybe you were unlucky, brother. If I had met you earlier, you would be lying on the stove at home today. Who made you so unlucky that he lost his life? Seiki Kusuo cleverly avoided the palm of the rabbit spirit and deliberately mocked the rabbit spirit. Seeing the rabbit spirit like this, Seiki Kusuo wanted to have a good time with the rabbit spirit. Along the way, he and Sun Wukong were bullied by the elves in the primeval forest. Today, the rabbit spirit rushed to the gun. You have to be careful, this rabbit has become a spirit, and its claws are very powerful. Don't get scratched by it. While swallowing the rabbit meat, the Wolf King did not forget to remind him. In this primeval forest, all animals that can become spirits are very powerful and have strong magic power. Chimyu Kusuo turned around and threw a look at the Wolf King. He just restrained some of his magic power. If he really attacked, the rabbit spirit would not be able to withstand 3 moves. Chapter 750. Chimu Kusuo played with the rabbit for a while, and felt a little tired. Seeing that the rabbit had no intention of giving up, Chimu Kusuo was too lazy to waste time with it. Little rabbit, I just played with you just now. Next, I'm going to get serious and see how capable you are. Seiki Kusuo called out and used the clone technique directly. In an instant, countless Seiki Kusuo appeared in front of the rabbit spirit. Seeing such a scene, the rabbit spirit seemed a little surprised. It really underestimated Seiki Kusuo's strength just now. It thought that Seiki Kusuo's skills were about the same as its own, but now it seems that it was completely fooled by Seiki Kusuo. Stinky boy, if you have the ability, fight me seriously. What's the point of using these crooked tricks? Do you really think I can't find you? The rabbit spirit shouted at the surroundings. Seiki Kusuo was not in a hurry to show his true self. Countless Seiki Kusuo circled around the rabbit spirit. It's up to you. If you can really find me, you are awesome. Anyway, I'm standing here. It depends on whether you can tell which one is me with your eyes. Seiki Kusuo mocked him and then squatted down in a secluded place. The rabbit spirit was somewhat lost and kept hitting Seiki Kusuo. Unfortunately, these Seiki Kusuo were all shadow incarnations, and every time they went over, they hit nothing. Little rabbit, if you know what's good for you, leave early, otherwise you will lose your life here. Don't blame me for not warning you. This person is not an ordinary person. You can't afford to leave. The Wolf King muttered a few words while stuffing his mouthfuls of rabbit meat. Seeing the rabbit spirit so crazy, the Wolf King felt a little funny. If Seiki Kusuo was so easy to deal with, how could the king of his clan surrender to Seiki Kusuo? You, a traitor to the organization, shut up now. As the king of a clan, you don't even have this blood. What do you want me to do? The rabbit cursed the Wolf King and didn't stop his actions. He repeatedly bumped into Seiki Kusuo. Forget it, you don't listen to my good words, it's up to you what to do next. The Wolf King lay aside and watched the show. The real Seiki Kusuo didn't say anything either, just stood aside calmly. After repeating the action for half an hour, the rabbit was exhausted and lay on the ground, foaming at the mouth. I told you long ago that you can't beat me, so why bother to waste time here? I just gave you a chance to escape, but you didn't cherish it, and now you will be buried here. Saimu Kusuo stood out from behind the tree. Seeing the real Saimu Kusuo, the rabbit spirit pointed at Saimu Kusuo and tried hard to get up from the ground. Unfortunately, his strength was exhausted now, and he couldn't support his body at all, and his mouth was full of white foam. You two will die a miserable death. When I go to hell, I will turn into a damn evil ghost and come to find you guys. The rabbit spirit groaned in pain, and his voice was very weak. Saimu Kusuo never believed in ghosts and gods, so he just thought the rabbit spirit was farting and kicked it to death. I didn't plan to eat it, but now it's good, there's one more rabbit. Chimu Kusuo spread his hands and smiled. The Wolf King beside him saw that Chimu Kusuo had already dealt with the rabbit spirit, and hurriedly wiped his mouth. After eating half a rabbit, the Wolf King felt much more comfortable.